vibrations out to your body where they are needed, so that all will be in balance.
I was taught to go through the body energizing each chakra and then passing off the excess through the feet down into the ground. Would that be incorrect?
Not incorrect. It is a way of doing it. When you're going through each chakra, make sure you also charge the solar plexus. That way it revitalizes your body. But you also need to be sure that you revitalize your aura as well, which extends way beyond your body. And so make sure you send an extra jolt of energy to the solar plexus, to make sure that your aura is being revitalized to its very limits to help protect you from any harm that may come in your direction. And then any excess energy, yes, should be sent out through the soles of your feet into the Earth Mother. It's recharging your aura and helps protect you when your defenses are down, like when you're asleep. It is wise to do extra things to protect yourself during the day, either by picturing your aura as being brilliantly white or golden, or by picturing a pyramid of energy around you. By whatever method you are comfortable with, because when you are interacting with other people, you need extra protection. But at night, in the privacy of your home when you're going to sleep, the protection of your aura should be sufficient. You may want to picture a pyramid of energy around you just before going to sleep, but you won't need to worry about it. You'll be protected during the night while you're asleep, because the subconscious does a very good job of it. And if you're in a reclining position when you're projecting the pyramid, picture yourself as being approximately 1/3 up from the bottom of the pyramid, because that is the focus of the strength and energy of the pyramid.
You mean as though the body was levitated about that far above the bottom of the pyramid?
Yes, but you'll still be totally surrounded by the pyramid, even the underside of your body. It is a very powerful figure. It is a focus. It is hard to explain everything the pyramid can do.
Many people have told me there is nothing to worry about. You don't have to be protected against anything.
It's like lightning. Lightning is a neutral force. It's not good or bad, it's just there. It's very powerful. On the one hand, it can be used to generate electricity. On the other hand, it can kill people. These forces are basically neutral, and one can use them for one's own ends if one is careful. But at the same time, when one is opening oneself up for exploration and new experiences, one must make sure one is protected, because these neutral forces have no morality. They just act in the way their energy flows in a particular situation. And you must make sure that you are protected against any negative flows. It is good that you follow our advice. It helps you to advance, and it makes it easier for us to communicate with you.
But anyway, you were saying that you send these vibrations out for what you want to accomplish.
Yes.
Once you send it out, then it must happen?
There are things that can influence it. Like, for example, you send out thoughts that you want something to happen, and they'll go out and start causing things to fall into place for it to happen. But if later on you get discouraged or depressed and you send out thoughts of, gee, it'll never happen, it will weaken its impetus. And when you get over your depression, you must send out strong thoughts again, positive thoughts to help it regain its impetus so that it will come to pass.
To re-emphasize the first thoughts?
Right. And this works with anything, any change in your life, be it business or personal. A relationship. You are very good at being able to determine who should know what. That is a level of your expertise that allows us to work with you well. It is not a matter of trusting or not trusting you as much as it is a matter of timing. Time to know, time not to know. What is happening? Have you thought energy-wise what is happening? We can fully understand your predicament and are sympathetic, and we appreciate you being able to understand that if we are forceful, it is not due to being upset with you. It is due to urgency.
Are you listening to someone?
Yes, it's somebody that wants to speak with you, but they can't talk English, and I can't talk that. And we're trying to figure out how to do it.
Can they have someone else communicate it?
They're looking, they're talking, they're having a little discussion. They're in the corner. It's like they're trying to decide.
Tell them we're running out of time here. I really want to get the message because they were giving me instructions. Maybe they can relay it to someone else who can give me the message.
That's what they're doing. Okay.
Are they ready now?
Perhaps.
Because I have no way of knowing if I'm breaking any regulations if they don't instruct me. She started to talk and then cleared her throat, as though the being had to adjust her vocal cords. The next voice was definitely feminine and softer.
There have been no regulation violations, but we would caution you to be extremely careful in your casual discussions of the phenomenon. You must be careful with whom you share casual information. There are sensitive areas. It is important, I repeat. Just casual information and sharing is not allowed. You have done well, and we are thankful. One of the problems could be the nature of the information and the timing. It is not a matter for everyone to know everything. You are very good at being able to determine who should know what. That is a level of your expertise that allows us to work with you well. It is not a matter of trusting or not trusting you as much as it is a matter of timing. Time to know, time not to know. So whenever you are given information in the future, there will sometimes be instructions not to divulge it until you are given further instructions. Perhaps you can find a way if it is necessarily crucial to something on which others are working to advise them, but do not divulge your source. We will be orchestrating their knowledge so that anything that is shared with others will be of a nature that is pre-approved.
Then I'll abide by your instructions. I had learned in the past that I had to listen to them or they would find ways to keep the information from being published. In the custodians, I reported how 4 tapes disappeared for 8 years because it was not time for them to appear in writing. It has been over 10 years since this session, so I believe it is now time to bring the information forth. They were correct about another point also. Several times during the years of my work, I have been given sensitive information and told not to publish it, either for my own protection or because the time was not yet right. So I have learned to abide by their instructions. I think we're running out of time, and the vehicle has been through an ordeal with this today, but I want to thank all the members of the group who have spoken to me today.
There are others who will speak to you at the next time.
And I'll try very hard to do what you want. If I make mistakes, it's because I don't understand.
Oh, we are well aware of your capabilities and appreciate and thank you. It is just that sometimes it is necessary to be in a bit of an urgency. And being in that, we can sound very harsh, and it is not our meaning.
But please understand that I am trying very hard, and I won't betray your trust because I don't want the connection to end because of any fault on my part. I began reorientation suggestions to bring her back to this world, but she was making hand motions instead of following my instructions. What does that mean?
We are saying goodbye to you.
I don't think I could duplicate those hand movements, but I appreciate it. I then brought Janice back to full consciousness. She had no memory of anything that transpired, and seemed to be no worse physically or mentally from the ordeal she had put both of us through. I had learned a lot from the entities this session. When working in such an unusual field, I often have apprehensions that there might be some danger to the subject, mostly because we were treading new waters and did not know what to expect. I also carefully monitor the person's physical body signs, so I would be warned of any problems that might develop unexpectedly. The entities told me earlier not to be so concerned about it, that they would always tell me if any problem was developing. During this session, they proved true to their word. They alerted me to a situation that I had no way of knowing could possibly occur. I had learned a valuable lesson, but I also learned that I would never have to rely on my own expertise alone. I was definitely being guided in my work by forces from elsewhere, a higher dimension. If I thought what occurred in the last session was confusing, I was certainly not prepared for the information that came out in this session. I only hope the reader can follow more complicated concepts. There had been a lapse of over a year since our last session. On one occasion when I was in Little Rock, Janice was unable to work with me. She knew she had been somewhere the night before, and it had affected her to the point that she could not leave her house and definitely could not drive her car. In the past, she said that sometimes she would get into her car and not even know where to put the key or how to start it. The simplest things would suddenly become very complicated, as though her mind would be totally blank and confused. On this trip in September 1991, I was in Little Rock to interview some UFO cases for Lou Farish, so I would be trying to do everything in the same weekend. Before working, I went to dinner with Patsy, Janice, and some other friends. We mostly discussed our personal lives and mentioned nothing about UFOs or how my work was progressing. The main topic of Janice's dinner discussion centered around an old boyfriend who had recently come back into her life, and things were getting serious. She seemed extremely happy, in spite of the continued UFO activity that remained in the background of her life. After dinner, we went.
One time I was asking you about UFOs and spaceships from outer space. And at that time, you became quite upset with me because I couldn't understand the
effect all the way to the source. Now, what I have not explained is that, when I said she had a choice, that meant we placed information in her path, and she pushed it away. That was her choice. We led her to books designed to activate certain memories, and she did not read them, so the memories did not become active. We give her physical stimulus for concepts that have been placed in that memory bank. But if she chooses to ignore her opportunity, then we must wait for another juncture in time for that to be restored.
But we're normal people. We don't really know that we're supposed to be in a certain place and do certain things.
Yes, you do. You do. You do. She does. You are being prepared. Janice has a connection with you and you with her. Any others you work with have a connection. And you will always know when it is time. You will think, I need to do this, I need to do that, and you will try. Remember my explanation to you with regard to junctures. You cannot set it. Your subject cannot set it. It is already preset. And what you need to know is that it will be not in relation to your time or the subject's time. It will be in relation to planetary universal importance.
Chapter 14. The Transformation of the Human Body. Continued. More information of this type came through Phil in 1999. I had not had a session with Phil for a few years. After working for a while in California, he was living back in Arkansas at this time and came to the UFO conference in Eureka Springs. Harriet was
said. The following would often happen when we ask the speaking entity to identify itself.
We speak here.
Chapter 30, The New Earth. All of our lives, when we attended church, we heard the following verses from the Bible. I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heavens. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them, and be their God. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain. For the former things are passed away. Behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. And the new city had no need of the sun, neither of the moon to shine in it, for the glory of God did lighten it. And there shall in no wise enter into it anything that defileth, neither whatsoever worketh abomination, or maketh a lie. And there shall be no night there, and they need no candle, neither light of the sun, for the Lord God giveth them light, and they shall reign for ever and ever. Revelations 21 through 22. Many different explanations have been offered by the Church since the writing of the Bible, but the book of Revelation has remained enigmatic until now. The explanations in this book that have been brought forth through many people while in deep trance seem to hold the answers. They have described the kingdom of God many times as a place of light where they have great joy being reunited with the Creator, the Source. At that time, every one of them have become beings of light, and there is no desire to return to the earthly physical form. This explains some of the meanings of the verses, but what about the prophecy of the new earth? Again, the answer seems to come through many of my subjects during my sessions. It was only as I was putting the book together that the similarity to the Bible became apparent. We are all talking about the same thing. John, who wrote the book of Revelation, put his vision in the words that he could find in his time period and his vocabulary. It is the same today. My subjects had to use the terminology they were familiar with. I know, therefore, that we are only seeing a small portion of the total picture of the new world that is coming, but it was the best they could do. It at least gives us a glimpse of this wonderful and perfect place. During my work, I have heard much about everything being composed of energy, and the shape and form is only determined by the frequency and vibration of each particular thing. Energy never dies, it only changes form. I have been told that the earth itself is changing its vibration and frequency, and it is preparing to raise itself into a new dimension. There are countless dimensions surrounding us all the time. We cannot see them because as the vibration speeds up, they are invisible to our eyes, but they still exist nonetheless. In my book, The Custodians, I explained how the extraterrestrials utilize this and travel by raising and lowering the vibrations of their craft. Sometimes we also go to other dimensions and return and are not aware of this. This was written about in the legend of Starcrash. So I have touched on the subject over the years, but I did not understand the full meaning of it until I began receiving more and more information about it. They want us to know more about it. Section 8. Stepping off the Deep End. Chapter 27. The Dreamer Dreams